Welcome to the Waldorf GridIron Club Podcast, your home for all things football at Waldorf University, the best small college football experience in America. Hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson, from the secret Gridiron bunker beneath Bullsdorf Field. Now, let's meet the captains of today's podcast.
All right, welcome to the Waldorf GridIron Podcast. Troy, we're back. We are back. We had a special guest last week,
Kicked off our second season.
Yeah, we had a single guest. Well, this week we're bringing in some power. And for those folks that don't know it, Will Finley, the former head coach of Waldorf University, is moving on to Lindenwood, Division II FCS school. He's going to be coaching linebackers down there. And
Division I, Andy.
Division I.
In St. Charles,
Missouri. Yeah. So Will's moving on. And so, that always brings a lot of angst. Whenever the head coach leaves, what does that mean to staff? And so I think everybody's worried about continuity.
I do have his farewell. Do you want me to talk about it, or are we good?
Oh, it's out there. I think
everybody knows.
Hey,
listeners
out with the old, in with the new.
Exactly.
We love you, Finley.
We do. We're gonna miss the Finley family, right, and miss Coach Finley because he did a lot of good things for our program. But speaking of our program, we got continuity because was that Monday, Coach?
Yep,
Monday. There was an announcement that the new head football coach for Waldorf University was Dothan, Alabama's own Chase Paramore, and Chase Paramore happens to be
eating bald peanuts right now.
Eating bald peanuts. He happens to be the youngest head coach in college football in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So how's it feel?
Oh, I'm blessed and honored to be getting to stay a part of the Waldorf family, and the community has been great to us. My wife's happy. I'm on cloud nine right now. It's an excellent, amazing opportunity to continue building Waldorf into the greatest small college football experience in America.
That's
so
good.
I'm excited.
Good. The tagline. I like to hear that.
Yeah.
And we have a bonus guest, Troy.
Talk about power.
Oh, I mean, corporate power and personal power, and man, the guy makes heads turns when he walks in the room. Our own president of the Waldorf GridIron Club,
the man who
Courtney Wooge.
the bunker
Courtney is with us today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep. All the responsibility, none of the pay. But
we understand that completely.
This is an awesome thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm here is because I guess I started this little gridiron club.
Yeah.
You did. See what you done?
I did what any good leader would do, was hire the right people. That's why Troy and Andy are here.
I have to say, I'm glad to see that you don't have the headgear on that you had the last time you were on the podcast.
True.
Which was a special moment for most of our listeners, actually. So it's good to see that your hair's grown back. You've got it. Look, everybody in this room except for me has a good full head of hair, and
I am older than Chase, but my hair is still full.
I got the same
fully
thing.
healed.
Yeah,
so no harm, no foul.
If you're just tuning in, you don't even know what happened. Go back a few episodes back into September. I think
Had the Yakels on.
Yeah, the Yakels, and check it out because that's what happened.
You want to recreate it?
It was the first home game.
Was it
the first home game?
Was it the first home game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sustained an injury.
Yeah. Who do we have home game this season? Do we have our schedule out? Prior Cliff.
We've got the Cliff coming.
They're coming here.
Yeah.
Because
we were there last year. Yeah. Absolutely.
Went out there, stayed at the Warrior Hotel.
So when's the schedule going to drop, Coach?
I believe the schedule will drop probably around spring ball.
Okay.
We're still waiting to finalize some things, obviously. Unfortunately, Presentation College closed.
Yes.
So
That's right. The Saints are no more.
Saints have
the Saints
closed.
went marching in.
They went out.
I think the conference meeting will be next week to kind of discuss the different options and kind of what we'll do there. So that's kind of delayed when the usual time frame for the schedule drop would be. So just kind of got to wait and see how that's going to shake out from a conference standpoint.
How does it look though when you're brand new coach and you're a very good recruiter and brand new head coach, I should say, and then presentation, in the conference, a rival
and then they just like, you know what, we're taking our ball and we're going home.
Wait a minute, rival?
You know what I mean?
Come on, man.
They're in the conference and no longer. So then have you reached out to, do they have anybody over there that we'd like to say, hey, why don't you come be a Warrior?
They certainly have.
They had some guys.
They were talented in some places. And obviously they had a really good receiver.
Yeah.
So we're definitely in contact with some of those guys. My biggest thing that I may be a little bit different than some of the other coaches within our conference, but there is a level of respect.
You're young.
There's a level of respect for Coach Hyman, his staff, what they've done there, and the fact that those kids are that's a traumatic experience. Mm-hmm. Obviously, those kids are going to stay there at presentation for the rest of the semester.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So we have a pretty big window to have those kids come on campus. Mm-hmm. Now, are there going to be some come? Do we already have visits set up for them? Yes. But I want to give them the opportunity to at least start wrapping their mind around what happened, because that's a tough deal for any kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hate it for those coaches, because, this is a tough profession, and, those guys probably went to the AFCA convention thinking they had a job and got back, and all of a sudden kind of the carpet's pulled out from under them. So I feel for those guys. Their offense coordinator's actually an ex-Troy quarterback that me and him are pretty good friends.
Okay.
So, I hate that for those guys. So we're going to get after their kids, and there's definitely some we're going to recruit. We've been in contact with some, but I do want to give
them some time.
Give them some time
sure.
to just process things.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good answer.
And their head coach is a class act through and through.
Class act, no doubt.
Troy, or any of you guys ever been let go from a job before?
No.
I have. It's not very fun.
Well, no, that's not true. There was a year that I was a friend of mine and I used to call high school playoff games for KOW, and there was a coach from West Sioux, and if you're listening, thanks, but he was using a lot of foul language, and they nothing we could control. But he was being very loud, and we happened to be proximity. We were very close to him. And then
FCC violation.
And I know. And then after that, they basically KOW, and rightfully so, said, we're going to give you guys a rest.
Okay.
So that was, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Kind
of fired.
Never fired. Never. I've never been unemployed until I retired, but I have been reduced. I have been on purpose. Yeah, where I've said, no, I just, like I said, you can look, if you're, I don't know if you know me, I'm just going to say what I think, and that doesn't always work very good in the military. So sometimes what happens is they give you a choice to go work in a basement in Keokuk or take a different job in Mason City. So I took the Mason City job, and that was great. Retired the same way, so I win.
Right. Well, Chase, what will happen with those coaches? I mean, most of them going to stay in the profession, and
I would imagine that they would obviously start the process of looking for jobs. Now, the thing that's a little bit different about college football is that the profession sort of works in cycles from a hiring and when there's movement. So there'll be another sort of movement per se as far as jobs go, probably in that after spring ball, that late March to June period. So they may have to wait a few months. Now, surely their contract will at least last them through May. I would think that would be the case. Right. But I'm sure they'll land on their feet. They had several good coaches, so it'll just probably be more of a May to June or July before they land.
Well, unlike Waldorf University, they weren't very good. So, it'd be hard as a coach, right? If you're got a winless season or a 1-win or 2-win season. Again, no disrespect to presentation, but sometimes you go down with the cart.
Right. And I think that there is that is somewhat the case, but there's also there's a lot of understanding amongst college football coaches about what each job is. Yeah. What each job isn't.
Yeah.
And, I was in the NAIA coaches committee per se at the AFCA convention. And, the NAIA, because it's not extremely regulated, there's kind of created they've kind of created a disparity between the haves and have-nots of NAIA football. So there's just certain schools that, whether it's geographically or it's the scholarship budget, there's just some places that are very difficult to win. And that's just kind of one of those. So it's,
fair.
So what is the I don't want to spend all our time talking about presentation. We did have some folks that two things there. One, colleges do shut down programs. They don't usually shut down the whole college, but they do shut down programs. You got at least one member of your team right now who came from the closed program that was I'm already forgetting what Division II that used to be in the old North
Crookston.
Yeah, Crookston closed. So I can remember.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Austin Erdman.
Yeah, Erdman came that way because they closed down. So that happens, and now this
the football
occurs.
Program, or was it the whole school, or
just the program, not the
football
school
program? And Austin was looking for a home, and thank God he chose
Yeah, for
us.
sure.
But
AFCA convention. So for the folks who don't know, what's that?
Yeah, I would say it's like speed dating for coaches.
What's it stand for, though?
American
that's
Football
a good way.
Coaches Association.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, see, there you go.
American Football Coaches
It's
Association.
it's actually it's an FLA, 4-letter acronym.
So this is
God.
you go there as a roundtable to see what positions are available. I mean, what's the intent of?
It's a glorified get together. Now there is
Where was this convention at?
It was in Charlotte, North Carolina. This past
in Charlotte. Mm-hmm.
It was nice. It was nice. It's they have different speakers, and there may be somebody. They'll have a series of college coaches from around the country that'll have kind of pop-in sessions where they may be discussing how to run inside zone, or gap scheme RPOs, or who's running GT counter this way or this or that, or defensive philosophy, offense coordinator philosophy, recruiting philosophy. So there's just all those kind of things you kind of pop in and listen
into it.
Yeah. And then the kind of secondary, I would say, kind of it's sort of secondary, but everybody knows a big reason why people go is you're just kind of going to broaden your network, and then you can. There's two different types of coaches. There's coaches at the AFCA that are looking for a job. Then there's coaches who are just kind of there to see old friends, and also just may learn something new that you didn't know before.
That's right.
Do they have anything about exterior helmet conditioning mid-season? Because I'll tell you what, I could really use some pointers. I told Coach Finley that I'm going to take some of the old helmets and see about what we can do because they start losing paint about game 6, game 7, and they look like trash by game 9, 10.
I mean, Notre Dame paints them every time.
I was just going to say.
Every time.
They might have a bigger budget than we do.
I wanted to ask somebody is there any answers to when you have a sewage issue in town and it ruins your new pants?
Oh,
yeah. Well, there's that.
I don't know.
Too.
That was I mean, how to whiten white pants after they turn orange.
1 a.m. and I'm down there testing out YouTubing how to clean pants.
Yeah, a lot of scrubbing.
A
lot of scrubbing, and I still wake up in the middle of the night screaming.
26-year-old head football coach of the winning Waldorf Warriors, the best small college football experience in America. What are you going to do? I'll tell you right now, the first question that I was told tonight at a dinner that I was at was I was supposed to ask you is this. And it's too late because it's not the first question anymore. We talked about the presentation for 10 minutes. So what's the first play you're going to run?
The first play I'm going to run.
Yeah. Briarcliff ain't listening to this
Everybody
anyway.
wants to know what's that first play you're going to run. No, in every game. Let's map it out.
I think I've got one for Chase. It's that oopty play that they did in Varsity Blues. Oopty, they split out 4 to the right.
I'm gonna have to watch that movie again.
You guys seen Varsity Blues?
Oh, I have seen Varsity Blues.
Sure.
Yeah, there's it's an oopty play. I don't know.
Is that the one with Billy Bob?
Yeah.
The cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think give that a hard look.
I will.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll put that in my back pocket.
Well, you're coming from you were the offensive coordinator, and that part of it, that's not going to change much, is it?
I don't anticipate that changing. Obviously, it's a work in progress from the standpoint.
Yep.
What exactly we're going to do staffing, and ultimately, my job is just to put us in the absolute best position
right.
that we can be to win, but also just be efficient in our daily processes. You know, I just want to be as efficient as possible in what we're trying to do. So I don't anticipate that changing. Now, obviously, as we continue to go down the road of staffing options, you know, if there was a right fit, potentially, but I don't anticipate that.
Sure.
Don't anticipate it.
Well, before we started the podcast, I can tell you one thing I've been impressed with just right away is just from a 26-year-old young lad, his business acumen on just stepping in to try and look at this from a process, efficiencies, as you know, the rest of us know, maybe with experience, some gray hair, you know, those details matter. And I think, Chase, maybe talk about some of the details you're trying to instill. A lot of the simple things, I guess.
Right. Well, I'll say this. So, you know, Coach Finley did, first of all, an incredible job. He is the best coach in Waldorf University history.
Yep.
I think he was the most relationally driven in Waldorf University history. Community outreach, all the things he did for our community here in Forest City, and the way that he loved players. You know, so I've had a model example, first of all, so I want to give him his props in just the way he carried himself on an everyday basis. And then I also had a really good example in Texas. Ron Smith was also a very, very good head coach. We did a lot of different things down there. So I've had some good examples. There's no doubt about that. But I think the big thing for us right now and our players is we've got to we've got to find some alignment in our personal lives, and our kids have to find the intrinsic motivation within themselves. You know, what makes them tick on an everyday basis, because the things that we could do better on, and if Coach Finley listened to this, he you know, it's the same stuff that, you know, we've talked about. We got to figure out how to do the little things better, and that sounds cliche,
right?
But if we'll find some alignment in our personal life, like we got done with weights today, and it was a great weight session, which I'll get into the weight room culture and things we're trying to do there. But I challenged our guys that, hey, go home and write down where you want to be in 5 years. And if your daily habits aren't lining up with the goal of where you want to be in 5 years, then we have an issue, because everything sort of stems from what you want in life. So when you wake up in the morning, if you don't have any alignment on where you want to go, then you're kind of just paddling along in a stream somewhere, and you don't really know what your end goal is. So you're kind of a wanderer. And if we'll find some alignment in our personal life, and we'll realize, okay, hey, you know, for some of our guys, it may just be, you know, I want to have a good job. I want to, you know, I challenge them. I want to have, maybe it's I want to have a good job. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. You know, I want to have a more stable household. You know, I want to have a good job, and I want to make a livable wage. And not every one of our guys has grown up, and we know this, not every one of our guys has grown up in a household that's allowed for that. But if we'll find some alignment there, and we'll realize that going to class is important because it's just a step to help us reach our end goal, and we'll understand that, okay, our time management does matter, and we'll start buying into the fact that being on time matters, and we'll start going to the weight room and attacking our weight room with a mentality, and if we'll be aggressive, and I tell them we need to be mad about our vision. So we need to be aggressive and have an attacking mentality in everything we do. So if we'll attack our goals, and we can get our kids to understand that, hey, you know, we got to decide what we want to do, then we're going to start stacking good days on top of each other. We got to create consistency.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for us. So whether, you know, if we tell you weights start at 4:30, you know, we got to get kids to understand that we should be there at 4:20. Okay. And then if a professor says, hey, you got an assignment due January 15th at 9:00, turning it in at January 16th at 1 p.m. is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just things that if we'll start doing, if you'll do the little things right, the big things will come. So our goals right now, we're not necessarily talking about a championship right now. We're talking about trying to stack good days on top of good days. Can we create some consistency? And if we'll create some consistency, then what's supposed to happen will happen. But right now, you got to put something in front of our kids' face that they feel like I can achieve. So can I have? Are we had a really good day today? Can I have another good day tomorrow? Can we have a Good Friday? Can we have a Good Friday lift? Can I make that 8:30 class that maybe I missed last semester?
Mm-hmm.
And we start doing those things, and then we could be special.
You're talking about things that are bigger than football, aren't you?
Right.
And it's a means to an end. You know, you'd like to think that the majority of our roster would go on and play at another level, but the reality is that probably won't happen. And you hope it does if that's what their dream is. But the reality is that you're setting them up through these lessons of being intentional about what you do on a daily basis, so that those goals, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. It's bigger than football. It's not just football.
Yeah, it's discipline. I mean, this is something that the military, taught me, is that your daily routine matters. What your end goal is achieved by little steps, working backwards to get to that end goal, and having that discipline. So working out every day, being conscious about what you do in the classroom or with the ladies, or just life. Like, how are you going to lead your life? And you can be like everybody else and fail regularly, or you can set yourself on a path that's a little bit harder, that involves discipline. And there's a warrior way. And I think we talked about that culture. There is something that's, separates a warrior and that person's mentality from the people around them. You can pick out a warrior in a group, usually, and certainly mythically. So why not go with that and just achieve that and build that into the team that we've gotten? I think you've got the right people in the positions of leadership now on the team that can help develop that, really bite into it and say, this is what the warrior way looks like. And then you could start something that lasts for decades.
I think we can, and kind of we were kind of laughing about acronyms, but something we're trying to preach right now to our guys, and it's really easy, but we're A + E = P. So if we'll have a good attitude and we'll have good effort, then we're going to see progress. And the beautiful thing about that is you can take that and apply that in the weight room. You can apply that on the field, but you can also apply that in every other aspect of your life. Everything about our guys and really everybody in the room is about whatever kind of perspective you wake up with in the morning. So however I wake up tomorrow with the meetings I have and whatever I've got going on tomorrow, if I approach today with a negative outlook and a bad perspective, then my effort's not going to be there, and we're going to have a stagnant day. And that's what I told our guys. So if we got a good attitude, we got a good effort, we're going to be okay. But the same way that A + E = P means that if we're apathetic and we're entitled, then we're going to have a lot of problems. So,
Troy, did you get all that?
I did. I'll write it down.
That's good fatherly stuff. I'm a father. The other two are fathers.
Yeah, I wish I would have.
I don't want to change topics here, but Chase, I know you're recently married, right?
Yeah, we've been married. Well, we were there. There was a little bit of a secret, but we got married a little bit.
Was your dear as dad standing there with a shotgun? Tell me
he was not. I was pleased. The wedding went off without any hitches.
Good.
So she showed up, and
yeah.
We had a good wedding.
Sounds
You said yes twice.
Sounds like it went off with a hitch, not without any hitches.
Well, and so you guys made it official before you came to Forest City, but then you had the big ceremony, here in the off season.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
So, and where'd you do that? What was that like?
It was in Dothan, Alabama, and
that's the peanut capital of the world. Do you know that?
Peanut capital of the world. It was. Now it was
There's
off.
deer sticks here.
It was off season.
Yeah, that's right.
It was off season for bull peanuts.
Oh no.
Okay.
So that was.
You okay?
it was tough. I was kind of hoping that would be our hors d'oeuvres.
You just like went off just general, like little balls of earwax then? Is that what you went with then? Or?
It was a good wedding. Everything was great. And she did an excellent job planning it because obviously I didn't have a whole lot to do with the planning process. But,
we never do.
Never do.
Yep.
So it was excellent. We had a great time. And,
So while we're on that topic, I want you to tell us a little bit about your lovely bride.
Well, she's the first lady of Waldorf football now.
She is.
Mm-hmm. I was going to tell Andy, and I didn't because I ran out of time. I didn't do it. And it was that tell him to bring the first lady of football along with him for this inaugural head coach meeting on the podcast.
We will have her on the podcast.
And then I thought, he'll just bring Ani. That's what he'll think.
Oh, yeah.
You could.
Tell us about your wife, buddy.
So, Yadira is her name. We've kind of talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Grandparents really struggled with that pronunciation for quite some time, but they finally got it down. She's from Dallas, Texas. So I met her when I was in Texas coaching. She's more athletic than I am. I will say that. She ran cross country and track in college. So.
You were a long snapper and a tight end.
I was, but I'll have to be honest with you. I mean, she's still up here running races in Clear Lake and running every kind of marathon possible. So,
and you're running up and down the sideline is about all you're getting in.
That's about all I'm getting in. And she let me know that the other day that that's how she was feeling. So I may need to fix that. But so she's working at Waldorf. She's in student success.
Good.
So kind of what that entails is she deals with our players on an everyday basis. She teaches freshman seminar, which means she ends up teaching a lot of our freshman guys. She teaches an encore class, which is sort of if you've had less than a stellar semester, then you're an encore to sort of try to ride the ship a little bit. So she teaches that, and she really just acts as
I like how they call it an encore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your last chance.
Like a fifth year of victory lap.
Yeah. Is that like
we have several in there I think that are doing this.
Somebody's got their marketing mind on at Waldorf where they're saying like this is gonna we're gonna do, let's call it an encore. Because
so she's employed by Waldorf.
Yeah.
She does a lot of things.
Crazy.
Now, speaking of Coach Finley, though, he kind of set a precedent in a lot of ways, right? Good foundation, like you said.
Right.
This program's in good shape, but he had some kids while he was the head coach, and he's got one in the oven. So I guess I want to know.
You just let that out there. Yeah, everybody in the world knows that now.
Well, okay.
Well, the 102 people that listen to this.
That's right. But do you guys have big families? I mean, are kids in your future here? Maybe, hopefully, in Forest City for our school system.
They might be. They might be. I don't know for sure. We'll see. Football.
You really put him in a spot there.
Yeah. Well,
football takes up a lot of my time. And,
Well, Coach, I told you that night up at Paddlers, I said you have no choice in the matter. When Yadira decides that she wants children, you're going to have children.
Well, and that is the case.
And it's all of our cases.
three fathers here. We all know.
Yeah.
They come. It takes 9 months. Or 40 weeks, I guess. Is it just it's a different topic?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Listen, this is not that kind of an episode. I'll tell you.
We're going to get into gestation.
I don't know how that works.
Okay.
There is something about this is not the same. I'm not going to go there because
Let's talk about spring ball.
Yeah, let's do that.
Is this a football podcast or a gestation?
Well, I don't know. Yeah,
we can change it.
How's the program gestating though? Like, where are we at with the incubacy of the new Warrior program that we've got going on under the Paramore leadership that is about 3 days old?
Well, like I sort of touched on it a little bit ago, but right now you're strictly in an off-season phase. So what we're trying to do is, all right, how can we improve our process and be as efficient as possible in the weight room? So our weight room has undergone quite a substantial change over the past week. So we're now on a timer. So in Division I, when I was at Auburn, compliance-wise, you only have a certain amount of time to be in the weight room, which obviously we don't have the compliance strengths, but that's kind of twofold. So our weights were running somewhere between an hour and 30 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes, which was too long because there was a lot of standing around and it felt a little Planet Fitness like in there. So what we've gone to is we're now on a pretty strict timer, so everything's down to the minute. So, for instance, today we had a dynamic warm up where we kind of worked hip mobility and certain things we wanted to get done, and that lasted 22 minutes exactly. So as soon as we get in the weight room, we have 3 core lifts that should last, roughly 12 to 14 minutes apiece. We ran a little bit quick today, but we should be exiting the weight room, going back out to sort of where there's another kind of area where we can use for free weights. We go back out there at exactly the 52-minute mark and do 8 minutes worth of what I call kind of a culture building core workout. So today we worked our core for 8 solid minutes, but then we just got into, really trying to test our guys, mentally, so, and sort of some military type stuff.
Go on.
So, when you get tired and you've done, 8 minutes of pretty tough ab work, which is kind of something I feel like we've been missing. We have not worked a whole lot of core, which we know is huge.
That's what Troy Thompson needs, a little ab work.
It's pretty easy to, in practice. It should be really easy for you to tell somebody, okay, we're gonna go 6 inches and we should raise our legs on go. But the first time you say up, how many kids are gonna raise their legs on up? Well, today about 40. So, we restart the entire program again, and what I'm trying to create as much as we possibly can is stressful. We want to create some anxiety and stress on our kids when they don't have a helmet on. When it's not 3rd and 2 on our own 28 against Valley City, and we don't need a false start.
There you go. That's right.
Just trying to put our kids in a position to you want to see them fail right now because I want to see the reaction. From our, which kids are going to blame the kid who raised his legs? Which ones are going to, be vocal, but to a point, it's like, hey, come on, man, like focus up, let's go. Who's going to freak out? And we did that 3 or 4 times, whether we're going on go or going on up, and what you start trying to build is accountability, but also the right way to talk to a teammate when things aren't going very well. And that's stuff that Coach Finley's talked about before too. How when things aren't going perfectly, how do we respond?
That's right.
And our response has got to get better. We all know that. That's
Agreed.
It's the nature of the game.
Yep.
You're going to have ups and downs. God knows we're going to get some calls that aren't very good. It seems to happen to us more times than not. But how do we respond to those calls?
There you go.
G-Pack.
That's it.
Right.
Well, that's exactly right. You're on. I think that's fantastic. The mental toughness is really what it's all about, and it's not just when is who's going to quit first. It's also the 2nd or 3rd string kid that's in the corner that you happen to catch. He's side eyeing you, not because he's mad, because he wants to know if you notice that he's keeping his feet up and everybody else is quitting. Like he's putting in everything he's got. That's how you find out who the next star is, or the next Rudy, if you want to put it in that position. That's what they really are. I think that is, when we got through this last season, there were a few times, we talked it on the podcast before, where there were times where we were, we won a lot of games, and then there were a few games where it's like we just quit mentally, in my opinion, and that is not unusual for. We always forget that these are 18 to 23-year-old kids, and they get frustrated too, and then they think it's a foregone conclusion. And I'm not talking about Ferris State. I'm talking about some of the other things that happened that shouldn't have, in my opinion, and then it was a lot of mental. So the more things that you can do that will break them down mentally, just to show them that, hey, you can climb this wall. You've already been here before. You made it through that. Build your brother up and do those good things. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I did feel last season, we don't need to dwell too much, but after Dickinson, it just felt like the air came out of the balloon.
Well, and I want to say this because, and a lot of our players probably don't listen, but I do think it's important for some folks to understand. So, exactly what Jordan Cooper played through.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I don't think people know this, Coach.
Is unbelievable. So against Mayville, so this is where you're like, wow, it happened there.
Yeah, so, Mayville's the one that I think you kind of saw it. Dickinson was a heartbreaker because it was kind of the end of this is where we make our championship run. Yeah.
Right.
Then Mayville happened, and then dang, at the end.
So
with Coop specifically.
Yeah.
So the first play of the Mayville game is when we had the initial dislocation of his shoulder, his non-throwing arm shoulder. We were driving right before halftime, and he dislocated first on the first play of the game.
Yep.
It subluxed, went out, came back in. Right before halftime, we're driving to make it 2-score game, a 2-minute drill that to that point in the season we'd executed very well. If you guys remember Simpson and those sort of try to put, I'm pretty aggressive by nature. We ranked number 1 in the country in fourth down conversion. So that's just kind of who I am by nature. And obviously it's not always going to work, but that's just how that's how we decided to play it. Just kind of where we were with the kicking game and those kind of things. So right before half, he completely dislocates his shoulder. We put it back in place on the sideline, which credit to our training staff. They do it right. Jake Kent does a really nice job.
He does.
We made a decision at halftime and Jordan made the personal decision that shoulder was back in place. He wanted to try it. Obviously, if you watch the second half of that game, he was limited, but made some big time throws down the stretch. Yep. But once you kind of have the initial shoulder injury, and once sort of your adrenaline wears off, we really had an immense amount of pain set in. And I just want to talk about what he did weekly to try to get to a point where he could play. So we did cryotherapy. He did dry needling in Clear Lake. There's a guy over there that does an excellent job.
Wow.
He really helped us out. But the amount of pain he played with, when he went to Dickinson State, he had very little shoulder mobility at all in that shoulder. And, obviously a lot of the Q run game stuff that had been so good to us was out the door. And that was the same. Could be said for Valley City and Dickinson State as well. And then obviously, guys, everybody saw the Iowa Wesleyan where, we had it dislocate probably as bad as I've ever seen dislocation. So he fought tooth and nail to be able to play. He did an excellent job, and I hate that for him. He has surgery January 27th for any of the listeners. So
coming up,
we need to say our prayers for him. He's a warrior, and he kind of encapsulates what we talk about when we talk about a warrior way, because that's exactly what he is. Played with an immense amount of grit, handled everything in a first class fashion. Can't say enough about the kid, and obviously it did hurt us from a win standpoint. We were really rolling at that point in time, and we struggled. And TJ Owens came in against Iowa Wesleyan, and we got drive down right before half. Nobody knows this. He's playing with a broken hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had no idea.
With a cast, so we were worried if he was actually going to be able to go.
Right.
And he drove us down the field, and we ended up beating Iowa Wesleyan, and then
Thank God.
He obviously got a concussion the first series against Dakota State. So
that was a targeting, by the way.
It was a targeting, and we didn't get the call. And then all we got from the commissioner was, well, that should have been a targeting. So
thanks.
Those things.
Let's go ahead and kill the kid, but it should have been.
Those things
right.
Those things happen in football,
yeah.
and we know that. So, but ultimately there were also other points. There were 10 other people on the field each time for, on offense, and then 11 on defense. And there were some points in those games, regardless of where we were from an injury standpoint. Obviously, I don't know if you guys know this, Logan Miller played 3 games with a torn labrum.
Mm-hmm.
He had shoulder surgery 2 weeks ago. So we had some guys that fought through a lot and showed a lot of grit.
Cade
had a torn pectoral muscle, missed 2 games, missed Dickinson and Valley City. So we had a lot of guys that showed a lot of toughness. So I don't want to say that the grit wasn't there.
Right.
But your guys are exactly right. There were some points in those games where just mentally we got wore out, and we didn't have enough fight about us internally, and especially the Dickinson and Valley game. We just didn't internalize enough grit about ourselves, and that's stuff that you gotta work on in the off season, and then we got to continue to recruit and build depth. And
you can teach them, from their own experience when they start to break down, and then they get tougher. But then they also will recognize when their opponent is breaking down, and that's my favorite. Is when you start to see, and it doesn't matter what the sport is, like they start breaking down mentally, and I will. Yelling at my own kids, and whether it's baseball, football, whatever it is, I'm like, they're breaking down. Like, this is where you win.
Yeah.
Because they're making mistakes. They're getting after each other in the wrong way. And if you can, teach them that about themselves, then they'll see that in their opponents, and then they'll be even more deadly.
The Simpson game was a perfect example of that this year. I mean, we had them on the ropes, and they started making little errors, and then, man, the wheels came off that bus real quick. And, we stomped them like a narc at a biker
Isn't
rally.
that where timeouts come into play?
24-21.
When the wheels come off, don't you call a timeout?
Right, you can. And there's definitely points in the games where you sort of mirrors basketball to a certain degree, where you're trying to kind of stop the run, stop the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Very good.
So how many people in Dothan, Alabama are going to be listening to this podcast, if you had to guess?
I would say that there's definitely going to be some listening to it. Now, probably if you watching the news tonight, I had to do a little quick interview segment with local.
Nice.
Oh, you did?
Nice.
KIMT?
Oh,
Nice.
Well,
It was fun. It was fun.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I see on your bio, Coach, that your favorite hobbies are traveling, reading, and cooking. Well, you talked a little bit about cooking tonight, when you and I were on the phone together, because you felt like you needed to eat, which is weird. But so, like, reading, what are you reading right now?
So I'm a big World War II history guy. Now, I will be honest with you guys, since this past week, I've not done a whole lot of reading.
Imagine.
Or probably this entire month, just because of recruiting and things we've been trying to get done. But I'm a big Alex Kershaw fan, which, writes The Liberator. Band of Brothers, obviously, is Ambrose. Everybody's read that one. That one's, everybody's read that. But
Stephen Ambrose is like what got me started. I gotta listen to everybody. Just want everybody that we don't do YouTube around here, but that's probably good because Courtney brought his deer sticks in, and I have to circumcise this deer stick here. I don't understand what the heck this is going on over here.
I always thought you'd be a good moil.
No, apparently not.
Yeah, whoa,
Troy,
sorry.
Are the sticks good?
Oh, the sticks are.
This
good,
is
though.
pure Iowa deer. I mean,
Oh,
I shot this with my own weapon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is farm to table
So,
right here.
so you got 3 Iowa guys sitting here with an Alabama guy. How you finding Iowa, Coach?
Yeah.
what now?
How you finding the state of Iowa?
I like Iowa. Now, I will be honest with you guys. This morning was the most snow I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really? This is nothing.
Right. My next door neighbor Reed actually came out, and I guess he could tell that the old Jeep was struggling a little bit. So he brought some sort of contraption that looked like he was almost like working in riot police, and it had, I guess it's what you call a snowblower.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And went to work on trying to get the Jeep out so I could make my meeting. So I appreciate, shout out to Reed for helping me with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You bet. Reed Ryan,
good.
the guy. You're the guy.
Yep. So really, but obviously, I've said this before. Forest City's a really special place. I've been embraced by the community. My wife's been embraced by the community. We enjoy it here, and like I said, that's why I had a high level of interest, obviously, in this head coaching job, and I'm very blessed to have gotten to stay as the head coach here, and hopefully get to experience a pretty good run here. So.
Well, and there's no more in the rear with the gear for you. Just kind of being flashy on the sidelines and calling plays. Now you're out front, and there's going to be like the coaches show every week. You're going to be on there. They're going to be people interviewing you for comments and stuff like that. Is that something that you've always kind of geared yourself toward?
I think I'm a pretty talkative person. I think that's what our athletic director was commenting on that today. That I seem to to talk a good bit.
Did he?
I'm a little bit of a people.
You said you're like, oh, he's like I had like a 2-hour meeting with Gassman, and Gassman's like, this was supposed to be a 45-minute meeting. And
that's probably how he felt today.
But on the sideline, I experience it. You've just calm, cool,
right,
collected.
Yeah.
I get excited and I get upset, and all those emotions go as a fan when I'm on the sideline and in the stands. But I did have, in watching you this past season, you don't get high or low.
No, you got on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. You have to stay as even keeled as possible. If you see somebody really losing their mind on Saturday, then ultimately we're going to probably need to look at the preparation in the week. Mm-hmm. At that point in time, creating a whole lot of external anxiety for the kids isn't going to do very much to help you at that point.
You talk about efficiencies in the weight room. I know that from interviewing the guys this, last season, that they were talking about efficiencies in practice, particularly when we talked to like the GAs and just the awareness that they had all of a sudden of like the work that goes into making sure that every practice is laid out so that there's a purpose and that you have a plan. So now you said getting better at the little things. Are we getting more efficient even with our practices and just the across the board type stuff, or do you feel like that's in a pretty good state?
Well, there's a lot of aspects about our program that are obviously in a very good state. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what we might do may just be geared towards, personal, do we do a team warm up versus a halves warm up, where do we incorporate certain things? Obviously the level of, the level of organization was already there. So obviously we'll keep a lot of the same organizational standards that we had, obviously if we can continue to build our staff in terms of numbers, then there's a lot of things that we could do at a more efficient rate. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I was coaching quarterbacks, receivers, sometimes tight ends as well. And then, you just look at, oftentimes, my individual time may constitute 45 to 50 kids. So, if we could hire more coaches and continue to elevate our program in terms of that, then you can become more efficient. But for our numbers and what we had from a coaching standpoint, we did a very, very good job. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of seeing what we're able to put together from a staffing standpoint next year.
It's important, and it's one of those things that I hope our athletic director and our university president are listening to this and realizing that Waldorf football is in a really good place. Starting with Josh Littrell coming in, turning the program around, making it winning, and then keeping it on the right track with Coach Finley.
Yep.
His time here now, Coach Paramore. Let's move. We talk about closing the gap, and I don't know if you might have seen the T-shirts, you might have heard coaches talking about that, but that's really. And Coach Finley had talked about it on the Coaches Show a few times about how difficult it is to go from 7 wins to 8 wins to 9 wins to 10 wins, and even to hopefully someday go undefeated and make a deep run into the playoffs. But it's things like adding the right people and being able to invest a little bit of extra money into the program, because when 20% of the campus is in the locker room in the DJAC, there's a significant financial investment there too. So if the university in turn makes the financial investment into the coaching staff to bring us up to that next level, which just does bring more kids to campus. So hopefully they're listening and that they'll understand the importance, and not just the financial portion of it, but just for the notoriety of Waldorf as we have the youngest coach in the United States of America.
That's and I think we're gonna have to make hay with that. To be honest with you, I mean, you've obviously got a great mind for football. You're young. When I was 26 years old, I was doing very different things, and just it's exciting. But hey, we're going to expect you to act like you're a 36-year-old. We're going to expect you to deal with problems like you're in your mid-30s. So that's a lot to ask for, a mid-20s guy. And you obviously know football. You have a passion for the game. This is where you want to be. That's probably, I don't know, is this earlier than you thought it would happen probably? Or is it just like in your mind, you're like, no, this is actually a little bit later. I feel like I should have been in charge of this a while ago. Or just about the right time, or, God puts everything in the right place, or how do you look at it?
Well, I'll say this, obviously very blessed to be in this position again, and wouldn't be here without Coach Finley and our administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say that we have an excellent athletic director. Our president is about as personable of a president.
You got that right.
That you're going to find. I mean,
good people, Bob.
I was at 3 different universities before this one, and probably shook the president's hand probably 2 or 3 times at each. And it was kind of one of those deals where he probably knew my face, but there's no way he would ever put a name with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the head coach at those universities, but I was in prominent positions in terms of coordinator titles.
Yep.
So we have an excellent administration, and I'll say this, since I got into college football, I've always tried to be as relational as possible with the people on campus, because and get to know them as much as possible. So, what Waldorf administration probably will see from me and faculty is I'm not much of a Zoom guy or an email guy. I like to come in the office. I like to have face-to-face conversations, which in some ways I'm probably a little bit old school in terms of that. But,
right.
You can't – there's so many times in today's world where you can't tell the tone of a text message or an email.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's very important to have as many face-to-face conversations as possible. And just in this past week, I've had so many good conversations with faculty on campus, and I'm really excited about working with them. But really, the training in that, it started when I was working in the compliance position at Auburn. So I began dealing with faculty and that kind of side of things at really a really early age. I mean, I know this is early age too, but at a really early age, I was dealing with faculty. And then the same thing at Faulkner. That was sort of my role, was more of the faculty liaison between, our football program, go into advancement meetings, go into academic success meetings. So a lot of those things that maybe some coaches may see as kind of a chore, I enjoy that. I enjoy getting to know people, and ultimately I want to get to know, what I want to know what other people's processes are. I want to know what other people's goals are, and if at Waldorf, if the more we can work together and see this as a combined effort towards putting Waldorf in a better place than where it is now, it's going to take everybody, and it's going to take more fluid communication between departments. And I can't expect other departments to communicate fluidly if I'm not partaking in the conversation or wanting to be a part of the conversation.
Very true. Now, one of the things that, we didn't talk about on the podcast, and we alluded to a little bit before when we were having our conversation, is that you talk about administration and our athletic director being more than just those figureheads and being present in these kids' lives. I had the opportunity on the night that Coach Finley, I'm trying to have more interaction with these kids as much as possible, so they can know me and I can know them. So I went to a team meeting. I saw on the band app that, hey, there's a team meeting at 3:30, and I'm like, I'd been to work before 6 anyway, so it's like, I'm going to this meeting. So I show up at the meeting, and I got to be honest, my spidey senses were going off a little bit, because things just didn't seem like everything was 100%. Mm-hmm. So the reality is that, you knew something was going on when Bob Alsop and the athletic director
we're at the meeting. There's some power there.
Sure. And so go out, and all the kids are there. And just the fact that when Coach Finley came up, made his announcement to the kids, that raises a level of anxiety of all these kids about what is going on. and that the president of the university, immediately after Will talked to the kids, the president of the university is there for them, chatting them up and speaking to the team about the good things that we have going on here at Waldorf University, as well as in our football program. And then Chad getting up there and announcing Chase as the new coach and things like that, which I think was a huge sigh of relief for those kids as well. But that just really speaks to the culture on campus and the commitment that that administration and athletic director and everybody has toward those kids, and not just football, but toward the kids, to make sure that everybody knows that, hey, we're in this, we got your back. So that's a huge deal. And nobody else knew that. I mean,
Definitely is.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Neither was I.
I found out I was working at the concessions, actually, at the Forest City at a basketball game, and you were blowing up my phone. And
I called once and texted.
Yeah, that's blowing it up.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't have a lot of friends, so that was a lot.
Friends, you and me.
Well, a lot of traffic. I don't have a lot of phone traffic.
Okay,
it's not
thank you.
family.
Right.
Yeah, sorry. And then I tell you what, I looked at it, and actually, what happened, I'll tell you, is I was making popcorn, and my son Jack, I'm very proud of. He's a junior in high school. He, varsity in every sport except for one, and here he carries on the Troy Thompson tradition in basketball. He's on the JV team, very athletic, and it's hard to take a football player and turn him into a basketball player.
Should wrestle.
That's what we did. So then he's at the concession stand. He's standing on the outside. He's like, Dad, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, he probably needs money, because
more than likely, yeah.
And he meets me at the side door, and he's like, yeah, Will Finley resigned. He's going to a different school. And I was like, what? And then that's when I looked at my phone, and then I saw that I'd missed the stuff from you too. And so I think you guys all knew a little bit before I did, and maybe a lot of folks. And then Courtney, then after that, as the evening progressed, the text messages kept coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of respect again for Coach Finley.
Of course.
He called me right away.
Absolutely.
Wanted to make sure that he got a hold of me and to tell me, and we're excited for Coach Paramore. I am. I'm kind of leading the tailgate, so I'm going to be out there at every game this fall. And
tailgate.
And with spring ball, we didn't talk about that. That's kind of your first big not test, but I mean that's coming up here soon, right?
Right.
That's what, March, April.
I guess we'll get going somewhat in March, but up here it's kind of when the weather allows it. So
yeah,
our spring ball kind of spans, Buff, probably it almost spans probably almost 2.5 months, just from a standpoint of
because you get 12, don't you?
Yeah, you kind of get going in around the spring break.
Yep.
But we have days where we can't go out, so
yeah. But there's a capstone there. I know the GridIron Club loves to feed the kids, and I want to do that again. Get the club members out and interact with Coach. We know him now. Here, talking to him, upstanding guy. We want to get him in front of everybody, and we need to raise some money too. So my shameless plug. There's a lot of things that we want to do with this program to help subsidize and keep things going. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those that,
Let's talk about that.
From the GridIron Club perspective, we're the stuff guys. We're the, any university, unless you're, a big time D1 program, or even some of the big time D2s like Ferris State, Northwest Missouri State. Some of those programs have, not unlimited, but they have vast resources, and it's based on their success. But, so what Waldorf GridIron Club does is that we try to meet the needs of the program and the kids. Ultimately, this is about these kids that come to Waldorf University to experience the best small college football experience in America, and we try to supplement that. And this is where we need your help. We need people to dig deep. We need people to give to our cause. Because what that does is it frees up a lot of things, and it allows these kids to have an experience. And it might be something like T-shirts and shorts and travel suits and things like that. We're not there yet, and that's a shame, but we need to get there, and we need to figure out what that means. And
Hey, look, if you're listening to this, the pressure is going to be on. We're going to start the 23 season, so expect these things to come out your way. The GridIron Club is moving into the next phase of its existence. Mm-hmm. We're doing that with the youngest college football coach in the United States of America. That title I just looked at was previously held by the UT Permian Basin head coach Chris McCulloch, but now it's Chase Paramore.
He was 27.
Yeah, and also Chase, you're the 5th head coach at Waldorf University history.
5th?
Yeah, only 5, and we've been doing this since 1921. So we've been playing football for a long time, but over 100 years. Did I say 21? 21
He's
or
the 5th
22?
head coach since we've been 4 year because there was a
'cause
gentleman
that would
before
be
Dave.
Yeah, well, that's
and
the
he
one
probably
guy.
wasn't since 1920.
He wasn't. He was the 3rd guy, 4th guy after.
But I mean, you're talking about less
Dang
than
it.
10 people.
As a university, though.
I was going to say 5.
Now we're going to back it up.
Well,
It sounded really good before that.
He's the 5th head coach since we transitioned to a 4-year program.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's the deal, though, folks. It's like if you run a business, here's how it works, and we talk about this in the Gridiron. The guys in this room, they got the head coach, and then this is the executive board of the Gridiron Club. You know what? What's good for Waldorf College, Waldorf University now, is good for Forest City. It's good for North Iowa. It's a county with 11,000 people in it in Winnebago County.
Yep.
Hancock County's maybe the same or a little bit smaller.
Just a little bit, but just a few hundred people more.
Okay, so then between that and then you've got Worth and you've got so this north central part of Iowa, and then the next big one is Cerro Gordo. What this means is like that's a big county, but they've got a 2-year college. This is the 4-year college. This is the university at the very top north central part of the state of Iowa, and it's been around since 1903. It's just an incredible thing to have a town less than 5,000 people. We've got a university. We've got and that employs a couple hundred people. We've got a lot of great things going on. We've got a major worldwide corporation that's right here. Like this is a very, very, very special place, and we've been that way for a long time. In order to keep that going, folks, what's important is we are able to support all of the programs at Waldorf, and of course, but the reality is that if you want to make a big cheese impact, you support the program that's got 1/5 of the student body currently. Mm-hmm. We want to see Waldorf get to 1,000 students on campus. They've got 3,000 students online, and hopefully that continues to double and triple and so on and so forth. And that's certainly very, very good for our university. But what it takes right now is by helping this particular program, that allows this university to stabilize. It now has returned to the not-for-profit Lutheran background that it came from. That's a big deal, and it's a big part of the heart of North Iowa. So it's going to cost some money. And why is that? Because when the kids show up here, we're going to give them a little bit of Forest City, and they're going to carry that with them for the rest of their lives, whether that if they go back to their hometown with their bachelor's degree in hand, they go somewhere else in the United States, they go play for the NFL, whatever it is they happen to do, they're going to carry a little bit of Forest City, a little bit of North Iowa with them, and that takes a little bit of support on just the good friends of the community. And so being a part of the GridIron Club doesn't mean necessarily grilling cheeseburgers and drinking beer all on Saturdays, although that's always a great thing to do. It's a lot more than that, and it's a huge part of making this part of the state so great, and it tells our story like we've been doing since 1903.
Yeah, we'll keep it up, and I guess this is your warning. We're coming.
That's right.
We're coming, and we're going to be asking you for your kindness, and we're going to be asking you for your cash, so that we can continue to have the tradition of making Waldorf University football the best small college football experience in America. We've got the youngest coach in America. We're going to continue to be the best small college football experience in America. So, Coach,
last words by Coach, maybe.
Extremely excited. Like our friends here at the Waldorf GridIron Club said, any of your donations or anything you give to the Waldorf GridIron Club is going straight to the kids. So you're gonna see where your money's going from a standpoint of it will go towards that. Every penny that you give to this program will go towards the kids and trying to make this the best experience for them. Whether it's so we can have some shorts and a workout shirt in the weight room so we can match, or whether it's just being able to get off the bus with a sweatsuit, or whether it's helping out, buying some football gloves, or maybe
a
just
whole new locker room
just
to make it look pretty and wider.
Love to have a new locker room, but in the meantime, just having some cleats on hand for kids who are coming from a junior college or from kids that are flying across America to get here that maybe just didn't have quite enough room in the suitcase to have everything they need when they get here. We want to be able to treat our kids right, and like I said, ultimately we just want to give our kids the best experience possible. So your gifts are appreciated, and we certainly appreciate you.
You bet. We'll see everybody at the spring. There's a scrimmage, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Invite everybody out for the scrimmage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure Courtney Wooge is going to be grilling burgers and handing beers out.
That's right, with no post hole.
I feel like I was grilling
post
burgers and Courtney was handing beers out. That I do. But I definitely
helped
recall.
a little bit.
Yeah,
I tried.
Yeah,
I tried. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode, episode 2 of season 2 of the Waldorf GridIron Club podcast. I want to thank Courtney Wooge, the president of the GridIron Club, for joining us, and the squeaky brand new head football coach for Waldorf Unity football, Chase Paramore. So thanks everybody for listening. For Troy Thompson and myself, Andy Buffington, thanks for taking the time, giving us a listen, and forever and always, go Warriors. You can join the Waldorf GridIron Club today by sending a check to the Waldorf GridIron Club, P.O. Box 125, Forest City, Iowa, 50436.
Or message us by visiting and like our Facebook page, Waldorf GridIron Club. Or email us at waldorfgridironclub@gmail.com.
Or it's as easy as clicking on the Support the Show link on your phone. Become a patron of the GridIron Club by choosing to support the program monthly. $100 is the Black membership at $9 a month.
The $250 level is Purple at $25 a month.
$500 is the Warrior membership at $45 a month.
The All-Conference level is $750 or $65 a month.
$1,000 is the All-American membership at $85 a month.
The Champion level is $125 a month, and that's $1,500 a year.
$2,500 is the Hall of Fame membership.
The Waldorf GridIron Club podcast is hosted by Andy Buffington and me, Troy Thompson. Produced by Sunnyside Farmstead Studios in beautiful rural Forest City, Iowa. The music is by Christian Leo. The Waldorf GridIron Club is a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to football student athletes of Waldorf University. Our mission is to assist the program in maintaining the best small college football experience in America.